So first squad we're going to be looking at tonight is Blastatrons. And
I can easily talk an hour about the last
well, Jeremy,
that's easy.
How about we let you read through the cart? All right.
Heck yeah.
Do that. Yeah.
All right. Let's grab that. Get that data for you.
Mm-hmm. I love these.
All right. So we got the Blastatrons. Just for, I mean, I don't know if it's like a big old secret because I've already been to I've been to 2 Scape cons, and for most Scape cons, I do run this composition, the Blastatrons Gladiatrons combo. I find them to be very, very versatile, and as you can look at the card, as you're looking at the card right now, you can kind of tell, right? So you got, they're from Vidar, and then you got it's the Gladiatron movement bonding, right, which is the first ability they have. Let me see, I gotta pull that up, make it bigger. Where's the one? Come on. Oh, I don't have a big picture. Why don't I not have a big picture? I'll just hold up. I gotcha. All right, so Gladiatron movement bonding is that before you take a turn with the Blastatrons, you may move 4 Gladiatrons you control up to 5 spaces each. So this is a really, really nice ability that allows you to mobilize really quickly, right? And most of the times when you're running a Blastatron Gladiatron army, you're going to activate the Blastatrons first, or at least 2 turns within the round, right? Because you're moving the Gladiatrons as much as possible because you want them to take advantage of their Cyberclaw, right? So for those that don't know what Cyberclaw is, we're kind of jumping ahead because this is going to be a unit that we'll
talk about later.
Yeah. Section.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to come up later, and you're going to be like, oh, hey, we talked about this. Yeah. But yeah, so the Gladiatrons have an ability called Cyberclaw, and so Cyberclaw removes the ability of movement entirely. Like if anything is within proximity of Cyberclaw, they lose their movement. Movement goes down to 0 essentially, and they are stuck. And it's a really, really nice ability that can be used for all sorts of things. I mean, keeping flyers down, keeping ranged in a locked location if you're quick enough. I mean, there's so many ways it's a very, very unique and very decent combo that I've seen take advantage of a lot of situations. So I find it to be a really fun combo and one of my favorite combos thus far. But yeah, so Gladiatron movement bonding. Before you take a turn with the squad, you take a turn with another squad. And that's another thing. You're moving 8 characters a turn, which is pretty
9, or is it?
Think about
no, it's 8. It's 8. You're right. It's 8. Yep.
Yeah, because it's 4 Blastatrons, 4 Gladiatrons per turn.
I had the 4 and the 5 mixed up there in the card.
No, you're good, but it's pretty decent, and I mean you can clear board like within 2 turns at least. You'll be halfway across the board with that portion of your army, and of course I'm the one figuring this out super late, but the more commons you have, the better. So
right,
like I tend to roll. I think my preference is like 2 of each, and then like major Q or X17. But a lot of people don't even play that; they just play full squad. It'll be like three blasts, 3 glads, because of this combo. It's a really solid combo. And then of course the additional part of the combo that makes it even better, it's called homing device, and that is when attacking a non-adjacent figure, add 1 attack die for every Soulborg who follows Vidar that is adjacent to the defending figure. So what that means is when you move your Gladiatrons, you move 4 characters forward. If you manage to surround somebody with all 4 of those characters, and the thing is, I've never activated homing device on 4 characters. I've never gotten that lucky, but at least with 2, you get 2 Gladiatrons to lock on the character, and you use homing device. You're rolling 3 plus, and if you get the Blastatrons on height, that's an attack of 4 automatically, and it just keeps going up. And it's just like it is absolutely some of the craziest things I've been able to pull some crazy moves with the homing device, because it's like you just move glads, you move the glass, you get them surrounded, you get the 4, right, and then you use homing device, right, attack of 5 or even more depending on how many you have in the area. It is really, really cool. But they are squishy, 1 life, of course, defense 2, right. Initially they have an attack of 1, but I've never let that stop me. If I'm not able to activate homing device, I still try to get my attacks in and then get my movements in. There are times that I've used Blastatrons themselves as part of the homing device, where I'll move a couple forward and then use them for the homing device bonus, and then take the shots later. So, because that's the thing, right? You can move before you attack, so you can move some Blastatrons forward if it's easier that way, right? And yeah, it's just, I think and this is just my personal preference, obviously, But out of all the characters and all the teams I've used in Heroscape, this has have been some of the most versatile, most like dynamic armies I've seen. Is the Glad Blast combo, and you know, of course, it increasing in opportunity because we have a new Soulborg for Vidar that's going to be joining in eventually next year, and that is the Admiral. So if you end up getting an Admiral that's surrounded, start popping off his homing devices and see if you can clear the squad that's taking him out, things like that. So options, many options, and that goes for any Volta.
Who's looking forward to Official Scape
right?
coming out? My
gosh. We get to talk about new waves coming out.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun next year.
And
it's going crazy. It's going crazy. But yeah, and then of course other data on the card. We got, you know, their guards, so they get a bonus from Warden X. The Warden. The Warden has a movement bonus for all guards, Soulborg guards specifically. And then we have Discipline, so they can join a disciplined army if you want to try to do some sort of multi option combo with some of Einar's units that get bonuses from disciplined armies.
You also get
lots of options.
Deathwalker range bonus, as well as Lagler range enhancement. You can get these guys up to 11 range. These guys are really crazy, and they have a lot of immunities and a lot of
fun
power. If you let them cook, if you're patient and you let them cook, don't engage them.
And I've won some games with them at ScapeCon. I've won some games with them at ScapeCon. So 6
attacks a turn on them if you surround your opponent. It's crazy.
They're really, really cool. One of my favorite compositions thus far.
What are the financial costs for these? Are they relatively
60 points each?
No.
I would say
financial,
monetary.
Monetary. Yeah.
They're cheaper than the Gladiatrons.
Cheapers. Yep. Because Blastatrons actually got they were selected for Wave 10 as a second reprint. So if you're familiar with the Valkyrie's Gambit, right? There was the heroes, which were all the characters from Gen Con reprinted, right? And then they did the Vipers, right? They had that set with the Vipers, and then there was the Quasatch and the Guardians. After that, they released, I want to say it was the Ashra and the Blastatrons, and then it was another set that came out, and it was a reprint of commons for people that didn't get a chance to get it when Thor's Vengeance was active. So it's like, yeah, you can get yourself a good solid amount of Blastatrons even now, because essentially Blastatrons have been part of 2 waves of classic Heroscape. So there's a lot more of them out there than of the other armies.
Yeah,
because of that.
I mean,
they got the chance to be printed twice.
$30 on average.
Yep. They got printed twice in the OG sets, and then so their models are everywhere. You can get them pretty easily. Gladiatrons are a lot harder because they only came out in Xanathor's Discovery,
right?
And I want to say everything pre Wave 5 has been like really difficult to get on its own, aside from Wave 1, because Wave 1 got reprinted. Yeah, Wave 1 got reprinted, and then Wave 10 was like a mishmash of multiple things that got reprinted. So it was Blastatrons was part of that, and I can understand why. I mean, it was a really solid army comp, especially for those that like Soulborg. If you really want to get into the Soulborg aesthetic, Blastatrons is where it starts. Like they are the foot soldiers of that entire concept, and they're pretty good. So, and then stats wise, they got 5 moves, so they move pretty quickly. Range of 7. You can start taking shots like turn 1 if you're really careful. If you know how you move your stuff. You move your stuff right, you can get shots in pretty quick. And then it's the attack and defense don't really help unless you're I tend to put my Blastatrons on height as soon as I possibly can.
Makes
to give me that bonus, because it's a 2-3 when you get them on height instead of a 1-2. And the 1-2 means everything. Like if you get attacked at a normal but without the bonus, it does hurt. They die really quick. And I've noticed. But
and I mean, in tournament play, the range of 7 spaces pretty much covers the whole board, in turn.
Yeah, like I mean, you're moving, you're starting your attacks within turn 2. If you like, I mean, out on average, you're already attacking by turn 2, but turn 1, if you're careful enough, you can already start attacking.
Right.
It's just a matter of moving your stuff in the right place. Yeah.
And
good stuff. I mean, I've always been a fan of the Blastatrons.
Right, and the point value is good too. The point value is
no bias here.
It's 15 points per miniature, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm doing the math.
Pretty average. Pretty good, solid cost point, I think.
Yeah, there's not a lot of armies that are kind of pre-comped built together. Like you can't talk about the Blastatrons without talking about the Gladiatrons. Like
right, they're like Gladiatron, and the thing is, like Gladiatrons came out a wave before, right? So we're talking about like 3 months of like people trying to figure out how to use the Gladiatrons. It was like none of this makes like they don't work very well on their own. And then the Blastatrons came out, and then Gladiatron play like exploded. Like they were like this. They were made for this army. Like it was entirely designed for this one purpose. So, which is really funny to think about.
That makes them special, and it shows the I mean the intricacies of Heroscape and how you know armies
the various ways you can play the game.
Exactly. How about we get into the character bio? Yeah, well, go ahead. You got a question?
Oh, this is even. I love the character bio. Like this is even better.
I was just saying these are probably my least favorite characters to paint, just because of the emblems on the shoulder pads. You want to do that accurate. There's some stickers online, but sticker work is hard too. So these are they're doable, but you know if you want finely detailed armor, it's
good luck.
All right, let's dive into the lore of these guys then. Character bio. Do you want to read the character bio too, Jeremy? You can go ahead.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, go ahead.
Gotcha. So yeah, I will say precursor for anyone of the lore enthusiasts, because I have noticed. I will say this. I have noticed there's been an increased desire to learn the lore of Heroscape. I've noticed in the Renegade Discord a lot of questions about it and things like that. So I'm going to point this out, like my preface of mentioning this bio. If you want to know anything about the Solborg, Alpha Prime, and anything about that lore, this is where we got it from. The Blastatrons bio is probably one of the most comprehensive, like, written material pre-Valhalla, pre-information that we've ever received about a planet than I've seen in any other bio thus far and hence. Like, this is some of the most comprehensive stuff we've gotten from the dev team about their story. Specifics, like seriously, like just kind of going over in my head that I know, it's like this is probably one of the most deepest bios we got, like in terms of information. And so for anyone out there that's a lore enthusiast, has been really excited about the Heroscape lore, and especially what the changes will be coming up in the future, if you want to know about Alpha Prime, highly recommend the read of the Blastatrons and just kind of like get that vibe down, because that's where it's all at. It's like that's the aesthetic is in this bio specifically. So really good stuff. And with that, let me go ahead and read it. Alpha Prime is now the war-torn husk of the glorious world that it used to be. In a time now lost to history, a brilliant race thrived there. The planet was then called Meridian. With technology, the Meridians ended crime. With technology, they ended hunger. And with technology, they ended war. Life was good. Hard labor was performed by the Robota, complex machines designed to perform arduous tasks. It was one grief-stricken scientist who, after losing a child to a fatal accident, changed that beautiful world's history forever. In an effort to save the child from death, he twisted science to preserve the soul of his child in the metal encasings of a Robota. Thus, the Solborgs were born. 3 millennia pass, and now the Solborg rule the planet, fighting amongst themselves in a constant state of war. Meridians still exist, mostly as slaves on the prison planet Isidora. But there is a resistance. Small factions of Meridians, driven deep underground, still fight the Solborg. The Blastatrons and their counterparts, the Gladiatrons, were built to mimic the size, movement, and guerrilla fighting style of the Meridian resistance. For the Meridians continue to adapt and survive against great odds, while that disgusts many Solborgs. Others envy those traits.
That I mean, you could tell reading the first few sentences that was going to get to the Matrix really quick.
Yo, no, there's, I mean, and that's the thing. Heroscape, to remember, Heroscape was a lot of references to pop culture. Right. So if you connect it to any movies, that's the point. That's the intention. I think, yeah, Craig Van Ness and the original dev team were really, really big fans of a lot of movies, and they definitely showed it with a lot of the characters they designed. So Yeah, that's the intention. If you catch movie references, then you're like, oh yeah, that's from this and this. It's like, yep.
You can tell it's going to go bad really quickly.
Yep.
That's interesting. It's fascinating. Now, was any more added on to this lore, or is this basically what we have currently?
That is probably the most information we got about Meridian, or Meridian now Alpha Prime, because that's the thing. It's like we didn't even know it had a different name. Like we understood Alpha Prime because it was the name of the planet on the back of the cards, and then however, like this comes out on Wave 5, and they didn't really do so. For those that remember Heroscape when it was like active, the bios didn't come out when the units came out. It was kind of like an update that would happen randomly. Like people would update the website whenever they got the chance. So the bios didn't come out till much later, right? But like Wave 5 was, I want to say, at least 2006, if not earlier. But I can't really source it at the moment. It's just from what I remember, it was definitely around that time frame. So we're talking about 2 years of like, okay, we have robots in Heroscape and we don't know anything about them. Like they were there. I mean, because they kept making we had plenty of Soulborg units at the time. It was like Deathwalker 9000, Deathwalker 8000, Deathwalker 7000 came out too. Like so, all the Deathwalkers came out, and then we had the Gladiatrons, and then we had the Major, right? Like we had all these characters come out, and there was just really no explanation for like where they came from or what they do. And then the Gladiatrons drop, and then the bio drops, and here we go. We have the answer, right? We know where the Soulborg come from. We know why they are the way they are. It's like, wow, this is impressive. This is very, very distinct to just the world building aspect of Heroscape. And like, yeah, every time someone has any question, I mean, I'll straightforward, like in Carmine asked me about the Soulborg at one point, and I just was like, nah man, read this bio. Like I was like, that's you don't really have to do anything else but read the Blastatron bio if you want to know more about the Soulborg specifically. Like that's their place, right?
More lore bios like this, please.
Yes. Like this was the good stuff. This is when people started getting really creative.
Yeah, nothing longer though. I don't want to read too much. That's plenty. Simple.
It's concise, but it's really evocative. It's still kind of
it really is.
That you're like, you can kind of have some wiggle room. It's not like on this day, this time. It's like, okay,
I mean, what's going on.
Right,
exactly. There's a time jump of 3,000 years, so there's still so much to borrow. We don't know all the different events of the war between the Soulborg and the Meridian. And for reference, right, when I got to write the bio for the Meridian Resistance in CV3, so that character, the Meridian Resistance units, I borrowed information from this bio to write that bio. And I think it was Vidar messaged, like he mentioned it to me at ScapeCon. He was like, hey, you were the one that wrote the Meridian bio, right? And I was like, yeah, that was me. And he's like, yeah, that inspired me to write my custom. So like it's so good that it continues to create characters to this day, right? Because like my domino effect came from this bio, and then my bio inspired other creators, and it's just like, yeah, no, that stuff's crazy. Like this is some of the good information that I really got, that really made Heroscape my place to be. was when I read stuff like this. So.
Yeah, the lore is really like, I think people sometimes will dismiss it like, oh, it doesn't affect how I play the game, but it really affects how much you care about
it's fun.
The unit. It gets your ideas. If you're a creative person, you want to know about that space that's not talked about. You want to develop your own stuff if it's never released, or it just makes you, make a good lore like this, not a bad one like Costumets.
Oh man, poor guy.
Yeah. Well,
he's supposed to be so cool.
I mean, well, for people who say that, oh, I don't really care about lore, I always say is Warhammer 40K.
Right.
So
that's the biggest. The biggest tabletop game in history right now has some of the deepest
exactly.
narrative. So it's like
crazy.
It's the part of the brand.
Darkest too.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. Justin's saying.
I've scratched the surface.
Justin's commenting in the chat saying the Meridians are some of the few VC units that I have, but I'm interested to see if Renegade will officially fill in some of these gaps. Yeah, it'll be.
I hope they do. I mean, it's like, okay. So if I may interject this point, it's like, it's like you join a class, right, and someone's already done your homework, Like, why would you try to do your own homework if the homework's already done? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much they can do right now, and all it takes is just using what wasn't done. You know, like just using what was planned, using the talk that was back then in the day, just like quick review of what we were expecting back then, and do that.
Fill in those gaps.
Done. You know what I mean? Yeah, fill in those gaps. Done.
Take from
They
the
don't even
source
have to be
material.
that hard.
Take from the
You
source
know,
material.
yeah, right.
and
It's
onto it.
right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's like, please, you got this. I believe in you.
They should be listening.
But I mean, right now it's
should
like,
be listening.
yeah, because they are right now using. I totally understand the premise they made is that everything that's going to be coming out is AOA stuff, and so that's like what 70-something characters.
Right.
After the fact, I promise you, you still have plenty of stuff to use.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things we've been looking forward to. You got this. Like,
There's time. There's
the
time.
homework's already done. Like,
There's time.
yo.
All right. Well, anything
Definitely
else we want to say
playing
about Blastatrons before we move on to another squatter hero?
You can
They're
use
very cool.
Blastatron's homing device on other Blastatrons, so that's a
Yes,
fun thing.
yes. Yep, I mentioned earlier I won some games that way because I threw some Blastatrons as fodder units to act as homing
There you
device for me,
So
and all of a sudden I'm
build
attacking
up
with
them
5
common
per
squads.
shot, and they were like, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, if anybody looking to get into Heroscape and you like these type of miniatures and you want to get them in your game, there are ways to get them and add a few of the what are they the Gladiatrons, like a squad or two, and there you are.
And I
you're
will
set.
say, Gladiatrons are harder to get, so I'd
Right,
probably
and
recommend
more expensive.
3D print until you're able to find them. Yeah.
3D print or
They
yep.
definitely printed a lot less of those than
Exactly.
the Blastatrons
Exactly.
out there.
But good option to build your army, especially for tournament play. So that is the Blastatrons.
Yep.